You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account
only Rosie O'Donnell.
Bitch that holler about fuck me. No, fuck that bitch.
I'm running for president.
Fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch. Bitch that holler about fuck me. Nah, fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch. Bitch that holler about fuck me. Nah, fuck that bitch.
For the record, it was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Your Twitter account has several disparaging comments about women's looks. You once told a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice it would be a pretty picture to see her on her knees. Does that sound to you like the temperament of a man we should elect as president? And how will you answer the charge from Hillary Clinton, who is likely to be the Democratic nominee, that you are part of the war on women?
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either. This country is in big trouble. We don't win anymore. We lose to China. We lose to Mexico, both in trade and at the border. We lose to everybody. And frankly, what I say, and oftentimes it's fun, it's kidding, we have a good time, what I say is what I say. And honestly, Megan, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that.
I don't fuck with you. You little stupid ass bitch, I ain't fucking with you. You little dumb ass bitch, I ain't fucking with you. I got a million trillion things I'd rather fucking do than to be fucking with you. Little stupid ass, I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck, bitch. I don't give a fuck about you or anything that you do. Don't give a fuck about you or anything that you do.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
Snoop Dogg.
And Bernie Sanders might run. I like Bernie. Bernie's an interesting guy. Apparently, some folks really want to see a pot-smoking socialist in the White House. We could get a third Obama term after all.
One, two, three into the four. Snoop.
By becoming the first African-American president of the United States. It's an honor to welcome Senator Barack Obama.
YOLO, man.
Turn up for what?
Oh my fucking God!
I appreciate the tenor of the conversations. I think it will actually yield results before the end of the year, and I look forward to continuing this dialogue in the months ahead. Thank you very much, everybody.
Knock, knock, who's that? Well, it's the gang, it's the A-Star. The gangster who? Yo, it's your brother, gangster Dre-Star. Open up the door so I can flow and let them know that me and BG Knock is good to go to make the dough.
team of teenagers with attitudes.
message and introduction is for all people living on planet Earth. We are not male. We are not female. We are not rich. We are not poor. We are not black. We are not white. We are not gay. We are not straight. We do not belong to any sovereign nation. We have no religion. We have no class distinctions. We are humans, and we live on a planet we call Earth. We are anonymous. Our anonymity reflects our resolve to remain equal and united. Although the anonymous icon has developed a reputation of threats and cyber-terrorist practices that are counterproductive to peace and individual security, today we officially announce the unification of all people who have used the anonymous mask and its representation to protest and stand up for change. The way that the anonymous icon and name has been used by a few through fear and intimidation ends today. These destructive and threatening means have never worked to unite the people. They have never worked to promote peace or to make real changes. The use of anonymous as a means of revolution and change must also be accompanied by the proper solutions for the change that we expect. From today on, it will be easy to determine whether a message that is posted on the internet or through any other venue of social media is authorized by the official voice of Anonymous. The official voice of Anonymous will be an actual person's voice, appropriately distorted to maintain anonymity. A computer-generated voice cannot represent the voice of the people. Only actual people can represent people. In the future, listen for and pay particular attention to the distinct nature, authority, and power of the voice of Anonymous. Do not listen to any other computer-generated voice that makes threats and disrupts peace and does not act rationally. As Anonymous, we would like to introduce the world to our official political action organization called the Humanity Party. THUMP for short. We have registered these words as legal trademarks to eliminate the possibility that they can be used by unauthorized individuals for profit or gain. The Humanity Party does not accept donations of any kind. The people who support our movement will promote our message through social media and other peaceful and respectful means according to each person's desire and willingness to stand with Anonymous. Anyone can wear the Anonymous mask and promote the Humanity Party in a peaceful and respectful way. Money has corrupted political parties of all kinds. Money will not be allowed to corrupt our party. The Humanity Party represents those who feel that they do not have a true voice in the governments that control our lives. There has never been a political party that represents all people upon Earth equally. There is only one world upon which human life is found and where humans have evolved to a point of either continual existence upon Earth through cooperation and peace, or of the demise of the human race through devastation and war. National sovereignty and patriotism have kept us from joining together to find the solutions to the many problems that we face in our shared world. There has never existed a worldwide political party or platform whose intent is to unite the people of the world as one, so that we can, as equal individuals, unite together and create peace on Earth and goodwill towards all humans. The Humanity Party has the political solutions that can change the world. Our intent and purpose is simple. Establish a powerful government that protects, supports, and treats all humans equally, fairly, and with respect of each other's individual pursuits of life, liberty, and happiness. Humans come first, but humans were not the first life forms upon Earth. Therefore, human government should also strive to protect Earth and its natural environs from human abuse. Yet, protecting human rights and the Earth from mistreatment can only be accomplished through proper and powerful government. Anarchy and chaos, threats and misuse of media sources have never worked and will never work. The Humanity Party does not endorse any violent or subversive act in pursuit of its intent. We desire anonymity. We desire anonymity because regardless of gender, race, culture, or economic class, all people should be seen as equal in the eyes of any proper form of government. As mentioned, the Guy Fawkes mask has taken on a meaning of its own, usually in support of human rights and good, but feared because of its misuse by violent individuals who, acting as lone wolves in sheep's clothing, threaten and disrupt peace. Again, this ends today with this introduction of the Humanity Party. We understand the fear and mistrust many people have for anyone who hides behind a mask. But it is not our intent to hide, but to inspire and unite. As is the case with all things that are good, opportunistic people, usually men, with no good in mind, will use the mask to promote their anarchist and terrorist beliefs and activities. These activities include physical or emotional harm to another person directly or through protest, fear, and intimidation to defame or destroy a person's reputation by any means. Anonymous and the Humanity Party do not support any action that impedes the free will of another, regardless of the intent of that person's free will. We must become united as one people, not as Americans, not as Russians, not as Chinese, not as any nationality, not as Muslims, not as Jews, not as Christians, not as Hindus nor Buddhists, not as any religion, but as human beings. The world has changed drastically over the last 200 years in the way that we deal with each other. We have become dependent upon each other and can no longer maintain peace among us unless we desire peace and develop the passion to do whatever is necessary to bring peace on earth and goodwill towards all people. Our division is the main cause of our inability to create change that works for everyone equally and is long-lasting. Borders, sovereignty, national or philosophical pride have long divided us. We must become one, not in thought, but in freedom. We must have the basic necessities of life, from the resources of our shared earth, available to us equally, so that we each can pursue life according to the dictates of our own conscience and our desires of individual happiness. We must have the proper laws established that protect and support our liberty, so that each of us can pursue our individual form of happiness. The Humanity Party does not support attacks or reforms that punish the wealthy for doing what all people on earth wish they could do, have financial security for themselves and their dependents. The wealthy should be treated and respected equally to all other types of economic classes. The wealthy 1% are people pursuing their own form of happiness and have every right to be protected by their government in their individual pursuit of this happiness. However, because of their wealth, and most importantly, because of the desire of the 99% to also become wealthy, the people of Earth are justifying and supporting current governments that are set up and established to cater more to the needs of the 1% than to the needs of the majority. This is not government's fault. This is the fault of the people who elect and support their governments. The people are at fault when they choose not to act and remain divided, placing the protection of their personal ideologies above those of others. But they are not at fault if there does not exist a viable alternative to the current governments that control them. The Humanity Party offers this alternative. We have the blueprint for the right form of government. The Humanity Party's intent is noble and pure. We are the people of Earth. We have the same needs and should have the same rights. We share the same humanity. We must join together, not in violence, protest, and threats, but in respect of each other. The Humanity Party's emblem is represented by a hand that offers and demands the basic necessities of life. The colors of the rainbow symbolize human diversity and acceptance. The wheat represents our need and right to basic nutritional food and clean water. The oak leaf represents our need and right to basic safe housing. The cotton leaf represents our need and right to basic clothing. The herb leaf represents our need and right to basic health and mental care. The Humanity Party presents a plan that will create a powerful government that will provide the basic necessities of life to all people upon Earth without debt and without charge. Our mental and emotional needs are just as important as our physical needs. Proper education, free of charge, is part of the Humanity Party's plan. To accomplish this, we must become one world, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are anonymous, and we are the Humanity Party. Now we would like to present a short documentary video that explains more about who we are and why we have decided to unite together to create the Humanity Party in order to accomplish our goal of peace on Earth. After watching the video, please visit our website at humanityparty.com and study more about our plan and how you too can unite with us and become an official member of the Humanity Party. Thank you. The Humanity Party's agenda is to help usher in a new world of peace and equality. Known as Thump, we are an anonymous group of people who have formed a first-of-its-kind worldwide political party that represents those who have no political representation. The Humanity Party represents the least among us, the tired, the homeless, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free, those who have no voice and are treated as wretched refuse by their current governments. Without the proper political movement and without gaining the support of the majority people upon Earth is not possible. If we have the ability to imagine a perfect world, then like everything else we have ever imagined as human beings, we have the power to achieve it. The Humanity Party's political agenda is an attempt to achieve world peace and establish a new order of law and equality upon Earth. Peace will never happen unless a new form of government is established. Not a radical form of government, or one with an anarchist agenda, but a government based on what has worked and what has not worked for us in the past in achieving this desired peace. In a world of peace and equality, what would we imagine the social interactions between us would be? Would we not imagine a peaceful society that supports the pursuit of individual happiness, no matter what that pursuit might be, according to the perceptions and unique desires of each individual? Thump's political platform presents solutions that protect each person's individuality and right, and each soul pursuit of self-worth and happiness, no matter what that might be, as long as that individual pursuit does not impede another in the pursuit of the same. This is the overall agenda of the Humanity Party. We all want peace, world peace. We do not like to see other people or even animals suffering, nor are we comfortable with the destruction of the plants and natural environs that were here long before we were. But unlike plants and animals, we are aware of our intelligence and dominion over nature, and we possess an innate desire to care and be concerned about other life forms outside of the human race. But this concern is dependent upon our own basic necessities for life being met first. Thump's solutions will provide for the basic necessities of human life so that a person is not forced to exploit the balance of the laws of nature. For example, the impoverished people of some African states, as long as they are forced to acquire money to sustain their own lives, will continue to threaten the existence of endangered species when the death of these animals provides money for the people to buy what they need to live. If we can first solve poverty in the struggle to survive, we can then concentrate our efforts on living in a symbiotic relationship with the rest of the natural world. People who have all of their needs provided for are generally those who are more concerned about the natural environs that support nature. They have the time to worry about these things and donate this time and their resources to environmental issues. But the masses do not have the time nor the money to worry about anything else but day-to-day survival. The Humanity Party supports the protection of the natural world in support of human existence. There was a time in Earth's history when there existed groups of indigenous humans who found that working peacefully together and with the established laws of nature was best for their survival. What happened to us? Why is there no longer peace on Earth or a concerted effort to live in harmony with nature? The answer? Humans are emotionally nothing like other animals. Humans seek for individual worth and happiness. A human infant cannot survive in the natural world alone. It cannot care for or protect itself. Humans don't have fur to protect us from the cold. We do not have natural camouflage to hide us in time of danger. We have no pungent smell to ward off predators. and no overwhelming natural strength possessed by adult protectors. This one fact seems to disprove a theory developed among the wise ones, which we call ourselves. Darwin's theory of evolution and the concept of survival of the fittest. If this theory were true, then there is no way humans could have survived upon Earth as long as we have. The laws of nature and survival of the fittest would have ended their existence long ago. How is it, then, that we have been able to survive for thousands of years with these physical disadvantages? There are three simple differences that set the human species apart from the rest of the animal kingdom. Self-awareness, the pursuit of individual worth, and the ability to reason. None of these characteristics simply evolved. Some people believe in a pre-human, quote-unquote, caveman who was able to evolve into the humans that we are today. This defies logic and reason because we don't see any other species evolving into more advanced life forms. We see ourselves as wise ones, Homo sapiens, among all creations of the earth. This is because we recognize our unique abilities and intelligence that allows us to rule and have dominion over other creatures that live by instinctual and natural law alone. Over time, as more humans inhabited the earth and became more connected with each other, the resources needed to provide individual self-worth and happiness became diluted by the number of people. This led to the protection of individual needs over any concern for the whole of humanity. As humans began to account for and protect their self-interests, the support of these interests depended on Earth's limited resources. As a result, we began to develop spoken and written languages. These languages eventually separated us into families, communities, cities, states, and nations. Then, we developed the imaginary borderlines that followed with the reaction of human emotion. The emotional borders that separated us were responsible for the development of the cultures that support and protect the individual pursuit of self-worth and happiness. But the cultures and nations of the world, although human, do not see each other as equals. Each views its own existence as the most important and relevant to life upon Earth. Religions were spawned from these views. Thus, despite their shared humanity, wars began among us in the protection of self-worth and the resources that we need to live. Self-awareness can appropriately be called selfishness. Humans are the only purely selfish creatures in nature. After their basic needs of food and sex are met, their selfishness motivates them and allows them to eat for pleasure, have sex for pleasure, and further establish their individuality from the rest of the whole of humanity. Selfishness is a natural human response to a human's existence. Recognizing the importance of the human emotions associated with selfishness allows for a more positive understanding and acceptance of it rather than a negative one. Our individuality is what brings purpose to our existence on Earth. When this is compromised, there is no longer balance. We recognize this emotional balance and imbalance as happiness and unhappiness, respectively. These emotions are felt when we receive or do not receive recognition for our uniqueness. We need to feel acknowledged, separate from the whole, or the very purpose of individual existence is breached. This leads to unhappiness. Acquiring self-worth is a constant emotional struggle in life, and we are continually striving to alleviate this discomfort. Individuality needs to be protected above all other human needs. Because if everyone did the same thing and acted the same way as other plants and animals do, there would be no individuality and no experience of happiness as we experience it as human beings. Since the primary human goal, the reason why we exist, is to be recognized and valued as individuals, which has nothing to do with the whole of humanity, whatever or whoever interferes with reaching this goal becomes a detriment to our happiness, to our balance. War, economic disparity, jealousy, envy, strife, persecutions, and other negative human responses are direct results of the human response to this interference. To further maintain our individuality, our selfishness, we place values on invented and imagined things. Material possessions become a distinction of class and prestige. Knowledge, not intelligence, sets one individual apart from another. A college degree or employment experience that none other has achieved helps us maintain a sense of worth and individuality. The color and style of hair, the jewelry adorning the body, and other personalized choices support our individuality against the whole. To counter these negative responses, balance must be restored among us. The Humanity Party's solutions support and protect individuality, which can then lead to the end of strife and the beginning of world peace. None of us asked to exist. Others made that choice for us and introduced us into their world. As little children, we had no power to make decisions for ourselves, nor could we understand or do anything about the world into which we were introduced. We knew nothing about nations, borders, religions, politics, or opinions, and we did not have to worry about what the adults had invented or whether or not others accepted us. We lived naturally, emotionally independent of others, including of our parents. We had a child's imagination, a child's curiosity, and most important, a child's perception of life. As we grew, many of us began to protest the adult way of life. We missed our childlike desires, but were told to grow up. That's just the way things are. We were sent to their schools that taught and reinforced their perception of life and their way of doing things. Their way of doing things has not led to peace on earth. Instead of seeing a tree as a thing of beauty that was a part of earth to share with our friends, to climb, or to enjoy its shade, adults created mathematical equations to scientifically define what a tree is, where it came from, why it exists, and how it was to be used. This is called science, and is the accepted form of value-based learning that increases self-worth. The more complex our mathematical and scientific definitions have become, the more we are impressed with each other and our invented knowledge. Meanwhile, children just want to climb the tree. Soon adults created uses for the tree that had nothing to do with enjoying it in its natural state. Adults created rules and laws that defined how the tree was to be used, and these rules didn't include climbing or sitting under it as we did as little children. There were some who began to worship the tree as if it were a god. We were forced to accept the adult way, their way, regardless of how we felt about it. To impress the adults and be accepted by them, we learned their ways, accepted their gods, and applied their values to ourselves. We learned their mathematics, we learned their sciences, and we learned their ways of worship. We learned from them that when other grown-up children didn't agree with their learning, the others were wrong and shouldn't be allowed to have any part of the tree. Instead of remaining a tree of life and happiness, the tree became a tree of knowledge of good and evil. As little children, we partook of the fruit of the tree of our choosing that was good to our taste, until adults convinced us to partake of the tree that grew evil fruit that is bitter to the taste. Adults justified this by telling us, deceiving us as children, to believe that that is how they gained their knowledge and value and became an adult. Although most of our memorable and peaceful moments of life upon earth were those that we experienced as little children. If we want to be valued in this world, we must act like an adult. Yet adults are unhappy and children are happy. The adult way of doing things simply does not make any sense. There is a big difference between knowledge and intelligence. Knowledge is what we have learned throughout our life that turned us into adults. Intelligence is our ability to reason, which we were born with and something that we all share in common. It is what makes us uniquely human. It is our humanity. We see this innate intelligence in children, in their ability to be quick to forgive, to play together, and to act individually and selfishly without consciously impeding the ability of another child to act the same. We then became adults, not necessarily by aging, but from experience. This experience is knowledge. Knowledge is our human experience and how each individual remembers it. Every perception of each experience is different and is affected by the language and philosophies to which we were exposed as little children. But as little children, we did not have a lot of knowledge, but we had intelligence. Intelligence makes us uniquely human, but allows and supports us in treating each other with equality. Knowledge can and has destroyed our intelligence. Our shared original inherited humanity is greatly affected by the knowledge we have accumulated in our experiences as adults. Children do not cause wars. Adults do. Our desire to support and protect our individuality is called ego. It is something we are born with, and no other life form deals with it like we do. Little children protect their egos differently than adults. Egos in adults have caused division. Little children do not divide themselves, but have an innate desire to continue to play with each other, regardless of childlike differences. We have lost our intelligence to the philosophies of men, which include ideologies, traditions, religions, judgments, and prejudices. We have been taught, we have acquired the knowledge, how to think and what to think. In spite of our shared intelligence, this knowledge feeds our egos as it supports our desire to be accepted. Common sense is perceived as a positive adult characteristic. But what adults sense in common is vastly different than what we as little children sensed. Well did the renowned German physicist Albert Einstein write, attributed to him, quote, "Common sense is the collection of prejudices acquired by age 18. Our inequality upon this earth is directly associated with our egos. The economic classes that create poverty are associated with our egos. Patriotism is a product of our egos. Every aspect of argument, discord, and war among us can be traced to our egos, usually to men's egos. In order to create again what we could only accomplish as little children, we must return to becoming like little children. We must first dissolve the emotional borders that divide us. Once united emotionally, we will have the desire and power to dissolve the physical borders that cause us to kill each other in order to protect and maintain these boundaries. The Humanity Party will accomplish this by reintroducing us to our shared intelligence. No child holds sovereignty over another. Properly defined, sovereignty means the quality or state of having rightful, independent, and supreme power or authority in governing the people of a state or community, unquote. Knowledge has convinced us that sovereignty is more important than unity and peace. Pure intelligence questions how any sovereign group of people can unite with another sovereign group. A group of people that thinks its ways and laws are right will never cooperate with another group of people that, just as strongly, believes that its own are. Each group will fight for its position and opinions. Sovereignty is responsible for every war of bloodshed and terror that has ever afflicted humankind. The Humanity Party proposes that sovereignty must end. The only sovereignty that should exist upon earth is that of the individual and one's right to exist and pursue happiness according to one's desire for happiness, whatever that might be, as long as the pursuit does not negatively affect the individual sovereignty of another. Unity, when experienced, can promote peace, cooperation, and humane and equal laws. Human beings must unite under one world government and constitution, giving their voice and power to one government and one authority. But what kind of worldwide constitution and government should this be? Forming a new government that unifies and benefits all equally must be based on our innate intelligence, not on our knowledge. Our knowledge has failed to produce the peace and equality that we seek for upon this earth. We must first imagine that it can be done, then form it on qualities that we shared as little children. The only way to peace on earth is to become again like a little child in the way that we perceive and deal with each other. If we were to put a child from each nation on the same playground, we would witness a phenomenal human social interaction that we forgot was possible. Watching little children interact with each other would bring tears to our eyes as we realize how far we have strayed from our shared humanity. We would see little children of all cultures, of all religions, of all backgrounds, speaking all kinds of different languages, playing together without dialogue or worrying about any rules that adults have posted on the playground. We would witness childlike imagination born of their shared humanity. The Humanity Party is the party of the children, regardless of their age. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. We simply need to look at Earth as the ultimate human playground upon which children play with each other without language, ideologies, traditions, religions, judgments, or prejudices. We must form a united government that protects the way that we play with each other and share the same playground. Our ability to use our imagination like we did when we were children has been stifled by the knowledge that we have been forced to value and accept. We cannot achieve world peace unless we can imagine it. Too many adults have been convinced that world peace is not possible, and according to their experience, their knowledge, it never will be. But the words of a popular song transcend the philosophies of men mingled with their writings, with their scripture and their scientific publications, and has the power to cause the listener to feel strong emotions of childlike unity. The song is Imagine by John Lennon.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace.
You may say I'm a dreamer,
but I'm not the only one. I hope someday that you will join us, and the world will be afar. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. Brotherhood of man. Hey, imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will
join us.
You will join us. And the world will be
The Humanity Party proposes that upon applying intelligence, that which glorifies us above all other life forms, we can create world peace. But first, we must devalue and obtain the correct perspective of those things that we have been convinced are of worth to us, the things that separate and divide us and cause the imbalance. The things that we have learned and accepted as valuable knowledge, those things that are taught to us in the schools and universities throughout the world, have done nothing but divide us further. This political platform of the World Humanity Party will help us return to our innate childlike intelligence by explaining what no accredited education can teach us. Quote, education, true intelligence, is what remains when one has forgotten all that one has learned in school, unquote. There is a way to world peace. We must become, again, as a little child.
And so the General Assembly, acting in mandate, has designated the year 1979 as the International Year of the Child, a year devoted to the proposition that all children of this, our planet, have the inalienable right to freedom from nutritional deprivation, to equal opportunity in the disbursement of educative opportunities, and to the freedom from inhumane pre-adult labor requisites. This is the year 1979, International Year of the Child. This should be written for children. I don't understand this, do you? I mean, I gotta tell you, somebody reading this in English here, they could break a tooth.
We are anonymous, and we have a solution. We represent 99% of the Earth's human population. When the actual number of the other 1% is considered, those who we do not represent, but who control almost every aspect of our lives, their number is more than 70 million. We represent every other human upon Earth. We, despite being the overwhelming majority, have no power over our own lives. We do not have equality in life. We do not have equal liberty. We do not have equal means and opportunities afforded to us to pursue our individual happiness. We are not socialists or capitalists, yet we support the right of every human who has been born on this earth, by no choice of their own, to have their basic necessities provided free of charge throughout their life. We are not religious, yet we support the right to believe, as long as the belief of one does not negatively affect the belief of another. We are not rich, yet we support the right to pursue wealth, as long as the pursuit of economic security is afforded equally to all, regardless of class, opportunity, or natural selection where the strongest survive. We are the weak. We are the downtrodden. We are the meek of the earth. We do not feel that we have a voice in our government, not because we do not choose to voice our desires, but because our government only offers us choices that it has appointed for us. Our choice for government officials has always been from the pool of the 1%. America's two-party political system has corrupted democracy and limited our ability to choose candidates who actually represent our needs and wants. We want change, real change. For hundreds of years, we've heard the same political rhetoric during every campaign. We are now more educated and informed than at any other time in Earth's history. We know what we want. We want our voices to be heard. We want the majority to rule and have power in government, as a true democracy demands. Real change can only be accomplished if the majority creates and offers its own solutions. Solutions that perhaps the 1% status quo has never heard nor considered. In the past, our complaints, our protests, our movements, our demand for change have been without viable solutions. They have produced nothing but fear, division, hate, and more prejudice. The more we push against them, the more they push against us. What we desire cannot be accomplished by one person. It cannot be done by protest, nor movement, nor organization. It must be done by using and complying with what has been established among us, the law of the land, democracy, the voice of the majority. We must be unified. We must remain undivided. We must remain equal. We must have courage. And to protect each of us as we stand against the power of the 1%, we must remain anonymous. We have established a new political party called the Humanity Party. Our party's platform offers the solutions to our current problems, beginning with the introduction of a new constitution. Governments operate from constitutions. A constitution is a body of fundamental principles and established standards according to which a united group of people is to be governed. But the people, as a majority, must agree on the principles and standards by which they are governed. 200 years passed in American history before a group of people first met together and considered writing a different constitution for and by the people. In 1787, a convention convened to write a constitution, not by the will and for the sake of the 99%, but by the will and for the sake of the 1%. By 1987, the world had changed drastically. Politicians, lawyers, and judges had interpreted the original Constitution and established laws that supported the desires and needs of the 1%, disenfranchising the majority. For example, a law was established that gave a money entity, a corporation, many of the same rights afforded to a person. This was an act that benefited the 1% and negatively affected the majority. This act was, however, legal and lawful, because the original Constitution gave this legislative power and authority to Congress, lawyers, and judges. The original Constitution provided the legal authority to establish inhumane laws, because representatives of the 1% were those who wrote the original Constitution. It contained many inhumane laws that eventually needed to be overturned by amendment. Amendments can alter a constitution. But if the Constitution in and of itself is a flawed tapestry from the beginning, then any alteration will only weaken the original strength of the cloth from which it was made. The Constitution must be completely revised and rewritten to reflect the true purpose for which it exists, to provide a body of fundamental and established standards according to the needs and wants of the majority of people. The current Constitution states, Article 5, Amendment, quote, "The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or, on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which, in either case, shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress," unquote. Again, the original cloth by which the tapestry that makes up the current Constitution was flawed. One of these glaring flaws is the ill-proportional representation of the people and the power that just one state might possess in governing the majority, even though that one state might have very few people living in it. An example of one of these many flaws is that the current state of California, which did not nor was ever accounted for in the current original Constitution, has almost 40 million people, but only 2 senators who represent their interests. The people of California might hold more liberal beliefs, desires, needs, and wants than 13 other Western states. But the population of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and North Dakota together do not equal as many people as those who live in California. Yet these 13 conservative states have 26 senators. The will of California's 2 liberal senators who represent the majority will never pass a law to which the more conservative 26 senators who represent the minority do not agree. The United States has never been united. Every social conflict that America has ever experienced began because one state disagreed with another. The Civil War, in which more Americans died than in all other wars combined, was caused by arguments between states. State representatives are the cause of bipartisan gridlock in Congress. States have caused and will continue to cause many social problems and conflicts unless they are stripped of their power and authority. The American people must become, finally, one nation, indivisible. This cannot be done unless a new constitution is adopted and ratified and becomes the law of the land. A constitution that was written in 1787 can hardly represent the interests of people living 200 years in the future. It was one of the founding fathers of America's first constitution, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote, quote, "Every constitution, then, and every law naturally expires at the end of 19 years. If it be enforced longer, it is an act of force and not of right. It may be said that the succeeding generation exercising, in fact, the power of repeal, that this leaves them as free as if the Constitution or law had been expressly limited to 19 years only. In the first place, this objection admits the right in proposing an equivalent. But the power of repeal is not an equivalent. It might be, indeed, if every form of government were so perfectly contrived that the will of the majority could always be obtained fairly and without impediment. But this is true of no form. The people cannot assemble themselves. Their representation is unequal and vicious. Various checks are opposed to every legislative proposition. Factions get possession of the public councils. Bribery corrupts them. Personal interests lead them astray from the general interest of their constituents. And other impediments arise so as to prove to every practical man that a law of limited duration is much more manageable than one which needs a repeal, unquote. We have written a new constitution for the people and by the people. It is based on the old one and incorporates those parts that have worked for the majority of the people. The changes will disempower the current representatives in government in their ability to make laws that do not benefit all people equally. The new Constitution will provide the people's representatives with a blueprint from which new laws can be established that represent the real needs and wants of the majority. States will no longer have power to cause the problems and divisions that they have caused in the past. We, the people of America, will finally be united as one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Change must come to our world, or human society will continue to slide down a slippery slope of inequality, hopelessness, and violence. Lasting change cannot happen through violence, insurrection, or revolution. Where the sword is used to establish change, it is by the same sword that it is enforced and can be overthrown. Change must come through peace, patience, and applying humane principles of common sense, respectful of all people. Then, through these same means, change can be enforced, and if necessary, it can be overthrown, but by the same means by which it was established: peace, patience, and applying common sense. Anger and bloodshed have only led to more anger and bloodshed. Protests are the physical imposition of one's personal space onto another's. Peace demands that each person's space, no matter what it contains or where it is occupied, be respected by law. Protests at a location where another person is encroached upon does not accomplish its purpose and becomes counterproductive when the protest is being staged demanding equal rights for all. A new process of demanding change is necessary and required. This process must be one that has no violence, no anger, no disrespect or disparagement of another's space. America is one of the most respected nations on earth. From its establishment and copying its original constitution, other nations have formed peaceful and productive societies. America provides the fertile ground of human diversity, where the seed of real change can be planted, and from which a tree of unprecedented humanity can grow. We realize that as the tree grows, it will produce branches that will bear fruit, some good and some bad. But if the root of the tree is spawned from a sea of goodness, from our true humanity, as the good fruit becomes more abundant, the bad fruit can then be removed and discarded. We must have patience and fertilize the tree with intelligence, courage, and undaunted resolve. The tree is the people of the earth and their chosen associations and families, communities, cities, and nations. The seed from which the root grows is our shared humanity, all that is good about being human. The Humanity Party will provide the fertilizer. The new Constitution will provide the power and instruction to those who nurture, prune, and watch over the tree, who remove the bad fruit as the good fruit grows. But people are not comfortable with change. Security lies in schedules and expected functions that always produce the same end. People are comfortable with having an election every 4 years and listening to the popular candidates promise the same things that they did 4 years prior. People become very leery of something that seems too good to be true, and they naturally, emotionally, fight any change that they imagine might affect their current state of security. The United States of America appears to be a peaceful and generally a law-abiding group of people, but that depends on which group of people you ask. There are over 300 million people in the United States. Of that number, there are more than 250 million who are of voting age. Of that number, about 50% actually vote. Many vote because they feel a sense of personal involvement and empowerment in casting their vote, believing that their one vote can make a difference. But an honest poll of those who do vote would reveal that a great majority of them choose the lesser of two evils. Or rather, they don't want any of the candidates, but one appears better than the other, so why waste their vote? We are going to use the power of the vote and the established system to send a message to the government that we want and demand real change. We are going to tell the government what changes to make, leaving it with little excuse for not knowing what to change and how to do it. The majority of the 50% who vote will now have an option other than the proposed same old candidates. But our intentions do not end there. We want all people of legal age who otherwise would not have registered to vote to register and vote. We realize that we will never be accepted by the current government, its laws, rules, and procedures for campaigning for office or establishing a new political party. We don't expect the current government to support something that threatens its power and value. But we do expect to be given our current constitutional right to cast our vote. We want all people everywhere who are of the legal age to register to vote and use the write-in option and write anonymous instead of voting for any of the candidates listed and registered for office. If, by the voice of the people, anonymous receives more votes than any other candidate, or even if anonymous receives a relative good showing at the voting booth, the Humanity Party will then legally register as a lawful political party according to current laws and election regulations. We will find and support viable candidates for our party's nomination during the presidential elections of 2020. If you are poor, if you are hopeless, if you are frustrated with our current government, if you feel like you have no voice, you are one of us. Join us today in making a change and having our voices heard for the first time in history. We have the power. Social media provides us the ability to spread our message throughout the world. If a South Korean hipster can shake his body to a catchy tune and get over 3 billion hits on YouTube, then why can't this important video do the same or even more? Share our message on all venues of social media. Get your friends, your relatives, anyone who does not vote and who believes that their vote is useless. Have them go to our website. Find out more about our proposals by reading the Humanity Party's political platform and reading and studying our new constitutional proposals. Our website, voteanonymous2016.com, will provide you with a list of locations where you can go in your particular state to register to vote. We have 1 year to join together and prepare our voices to be heard at voting booths across America. Make your own Vote Anonymous 2016 posters, t-shirts, bumper stickers, signs, and advertise voteanonymous2016.com wherever you go and with whomever you speak. We can do this. If we don't at least try, we have nothing else to complain about or about which to protest. Beware of a great opposition which will rise against us, that will form if we are successful at uniting the people to this great cause. There will be lies published, fear spread, ignorance perpetuated by those who want to fight change. And there will be those who believe that they're patriotic and true Americans who want to protect their Constitution. But do not let the naysayers and opponents of this movement dissuade you from sending a message to our government that we demand change. It is possible that if this movement gains momentum, that the government powers will eliminate the write-in option at the voting booths. If this happens, take a post-it note, write anonymous on it, and leave it in the voting booth. If our message, Vote Anonymous, can spread throughout America, it will inevitably spread throughout the earth. And one day, this world might become one people, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
are staying in D.C. for 2 years after the president leaves office.
He's about to go from commander-in-chief to couch commander.
You, Chuck Todd. What am I going to do in D.C. for 2 years?
You've got a real dilemma, Mr. President.
I can't go every day, can I?
Which you like better, these or these?
Joe, they're the same.
They capture different moods.
Joe, I need some focus here.
Comes in there during aviator time, thinks everything.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said, Mr. President, that you had to be practical. And look, you can drive again, you're going to need a license. You love sports. Why don't you volunteer to work for one of the teams around here?
Is this the Washington Wizards? I understand you're looking for some coaching help. Let's just say I coached my daughter's team a few times. Hello? Hello?
$44.
Finally. So I'm going to be in D.C. for a while, and I thought I'd take up driving again.
What's the name?
Barack Hussein Obama.
Yikes. Well, since you don't have a driver's license, you're gonna need a birth certificate.
Really?
Really.
It's real.
Is it?
It's real.
But is it?
Oh, Michelle left her phone. Let's see here. Huh. She's got Snapchat. Obamacare is great, and it's really working. Sign up now.
Breaking news. Michelle Obama in hot water after posting this video earlier today.
Obamacare is great, and it's really working. Sign up now.
No?
No.
Did it get a lot of views at least?
Honey, enough. Why don't you just talk to somebody who's been through this? I gotta go to Soul Cycle.
She's right. I know who I need to talk to. Hey, it's Barack. Listen, can we get together? Now that is a great move. Yeah, it's good for me. It's good for me. So, you got any advice for me?
So now you want my advice? First, stop sending me all these LinkedIn requests. And second, here's the beauty of this whole thing. You've got all the time in the world to figure this out. You can just be you for a while. If you know how to do that again.
So I can just be me. And I can wear my mom jeans in peace. I hate these tight jeans.
That's good. Yesterday, I had a beer at 11:30 in the morning. And you know, McDonald's now serves breakfast all day long.
You know, Michelle's going to be at spin class, so she'll never know.
Right. Let it go. You know, it won't be long. You'll be able to walk right out of the Oval Office singing zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. And you got plenty of time to work on your tan. And you know what? I finally got the grand bargain on a sweet Chevy Tahoe. Look here. Look here. Yeah. You want one?
Breaking news, former President Barack Obama on his 347th round of golf for the year, and it's totally great. And Gloria, not a problem for anybody.
I can't think of a reason to care, Wolf, and believe me, I've tried.
There you go. I am still waiting for all of you to respond to my invitation to connect to LinkedIn. But I know you have jobs to do, which is what really brings us here tonight. I know that there are times that we've had differences, and that's inherent in our institutional roles. It's true of every president and his press corps. But we've always shared the same goal, to root our public discourse in the truth, to open the doors of this democracy, to do whatever we can to make our country and our world more free and more just. And I've always appreciated the role that you have all played as equal partners in reaching these goals. Our free press is why we once again recognize the real journalists who uncover the horrifying scandal and brought some measure of justice for thousands of victims throughout the world.